I'm James with Integrity Marketing, and I wanted to go live today because we had a really interesting conversation in our coaching group this morning. In fact, one of the things that I thought was so interesting it was worth going live about was we have this particular client who had this ongoing problem where every conversation, somehow the prospect wouldn't want to move forward with, let's say, an initial meeting until they knew the price. This was a bothersome problem for her until she did something different. The thing that she did different was recognize that people get hung up on the price when they're associating it with a thing, a commodity, right, a product of sorts. What this client realized is that through the course of the conversation became focused on documents, certain kinds of documents, wills, trusts, revocable living trust, irrevocable trust, whatever it may be, a certain document came up in conversation. It almost became the center of that conversation, okay? And what this client did, what this law firm really came to was understanding that they're not here to sell trusts and wills and estate planning documents. They're actually meeting with this person to solve their problem. That's why the person came to them in the first place, because there's something going on, right? There's some sort of emotional distress. It's very similar to if you go to the doctor, right? You go to the doctor because you're having a fluttering heart, you're having palpitations, right? Maybe a little bit of arrhythmia, you feel off, you wake up lightheaded, right? You're worried about this. When you go in, the doctor's going to ask you about your symptoms, about how it makes you feel. What we really care to know are two things. How's that doctor going to cut you open? What tools is he going to use? What method is he going to use? What procedure is going to be done? And where did he learn how to do that procedure, right? And all the intricacies about it. You don't really care about that. The other thing you don't care about is how much it's going to cost. Why? Because the value that you're getting is your life. You're getting more value out of that than what could ever be paid for. A patient's mind does not go to cost when it's dealing with their health, okay? Same thing for estate planning. Your prospect's mind will not go to documents unless you make documents the center of your conversation. Make the prospect the center of your conversation. Recognize that when a prospect does bring up price, what they're really doing is a little bit of buyer defense mechanism, okay? They're getting out of their heart, they're getting into their head. So how does client make this shift? When price does come up, you need to be able to have the skill set and the curiosity and empathy for your prospect to find out why that cost is so important and how it's going to affect their decision to solve whatever it is they wanted to solve. If someone's concerned about their blended family and making sure their biological kids receive a fair inheritance and aren't cut out of the family, when they ask about price, ask them, well, what is it worth to you to make sure that your kids are protected and that they get the proper inheritance? What's the maximum that you would pay for that? Or what's the minimum? How do you put a number? What's the budget in your head? Put it back on them. They have to be able to tell you, you have your price, that's yours to keep. Nobody deserves to know that until they qualify to know that. Once they qualify, sure, okay? But until they do, you have to hold that close to the vest. You have to get to the truth of what's really brought this person into your existence in the first place. It's to solve a problem, not to buy documents. That's what I can guarantee you. So if you make that mindset shift, that you're there for your client, you're there as an advocate for them to help serve them to the truth, solve their biggest problems, accomplish their biggest goals. In order to do that, you have to know what their biggest problems and biggest goals are. So use your question strategies to figure that out, and you'll see the questions about price, you'll see the scenarios about wanting to think it over completely dissipate. They become so aware that they are the exception, not the norm. Change your own perspective about what your purpose is with that person that you're talking to, and watch things change.